Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live, open forum today because it's Tuesday, and if it's Tuesday, it's open forum here on Catholic Answers. Second hour, we got Tim Staples coming in. We'll see how he's doing and also get him to answer a whole bunch of questions. This hour, our chaplain, Father Hugh Barber, is here with us. Thank you for being with us, Father.
Glad to be here.
Father is a Norbertine priest, former prior of the Norbertine Abbey at St. Michael's up the road from us here in Orange County, and a diplomat of... Wait, don't tell me the Angelicum and the Augustinianum.
Yes, we use that Germanic terminology, diplomat.
Is that what the Germans say?
Yeah,
when you got a diploma from there?
Yeah, I have a diploma. That's what.
Yeah, I don't mean that you were in the service of the nuncio.
No, that was
or
when I
something.
was prior at the Abbey. That was diplomatic.
Then you had to be a diplomat. Huh? A prior has to be a What does a prior do? A prior?
He does whatever the abbot wants him to do.
Oh.
But mostly it's personnel things.
You're like the XO, the executive officer? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, well, but now you're here as chaplain. That's different.
Now, 22 years was a
was
good long
plenty?
while, and so now I'm here. I'm coming up on my full year end of September.
That is so great. I got nervous that you were going to go after a year. Like, was this a 1-year thing? But it's going to be okay, right? We can still have you as chaplain here?
Yes.
Yes, you'll still be here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I'm traveling next year, and I'm hoping that you'll come with me.
There you go.
I want you to come on my travels.
Draw the crowds.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You and I together.
No, I need a chaplain. I need a chaplain to hit the road with me. 888-318-7884 is our number, 888-31-TRUTH. If you prefer the spelled version, if you have a question about what the Catholic Church believes or what we Catholics do or why we believe or do those things, you're welcome to call. Lots of people who are not Catholic call, and we encourage that. We love that, as a matter of fact. So let me say right off the bat that if you are not a Catholic, whether you're a non-believer or you are a believer in another faith or creed, we would love to have your call if you have a question or a challenge for us. 888-318-7884. Of course, Catholics are welcome to call as well. You're probably more used to Father being here for the chaplain is in, but you take any call. You take any question.
Yes,
here.
of course. And if Catholics, they call with their particular problems,
That's fine
happy
too.
to answer them.
Yeah,
Exactly, no problem.
that's fine. So, Father, we are in the midst of summer. You were in Rome when you went to those schools where you got those diplomas from. Like right now, does everybody leave Rome, or is that just in August, or is that a myth?
Pretty much July and August.
Get out of town if you
People
can.
that live in Rome are not there.
Really?
No.
Do they have like a Jersey Shore they can go to? Like when I was a kid in Philadelphia, people went down the shore. So,
Well, Italians, they go out to the countryside. They go down to Frascati or someplace, or they go visit their families in other parts of Italy because Rome's the capital. So people usually have folks someplace else.
yeah.
And the clergy go wherever they go. Yeah, it's generally, and of course the students go back to their communities or dioceses or wherever in different parts of the world.
What about the?
And then those who are from missionary or third world countries, they tend to go and help pastorally in other parts of Europe.
Oh, I see.
You know,
Yeah.
like the Nigerian or Indian clergy that are there, they don't always go home, but they'll go and help in parishes, and that because of course the vocation situation in those countries is pretty difficult, so they go and help out. You know, yeah.
Do you get a feeling when you're there in Rome of? I mean, just you mentioning those countries of the universality of the church. Like, you're like?
Oh yeah, that's one.
Is that one of the marks of it?
That's something that you immediately encounter.
Yeah.
You encounter Catholics you would never have encountered
Yeah.
except there. I mean, here in this country we have certain categories, and they're all, you know, things we're acquainted with or persons we're acquainted with. But there, no, you get a tremendous variety, and the Pontifical University's exposure to all of that because you have people coming from everywhere.
Oh, so that's
Literally
the idea,
from
really.
everywhere.
And that's part of the intention. Then you're preparing people to go out to the world, and so you come here to Rome and you meet people from all over the world. And
Yeah,
study with them.
certainly that's the effect. I don't know if that was original intent.
I see.
But that is the effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful one. Yeah.
Now, we're always used to the popes getting out of Rome in August as well, but I don't think Pope Francis does he? Does he go out to
No,
the...
he doesn't go out to Castel Gandolfo. That's the Pope's summer residence. I think they're keeping it open because his successors...
Somebody else might want it.
And his successors not, just mentioning them, they may want to do that.
Right.
But he says he's never taken a vacation since the 80s.
Really?
So he doesn't like to go out there, so there you are. But I think that the economy of Castel Gandolfo is probably, they're managing because they opened the gardens up to the people, which wasn't the case when the Pope was there. So the local economy was saved. Because the Pope's not there, but you can still see everything and more than before. So if you go to Rome and whatnot, go to Castel Gandolfo and hang out there because it's very beautiful. And
Is it
you'll see
far
a
away?
lot. It's about an hour from Rome. Yeah.
But it's up a little higher, so you're cooler.
Yeah, and cooler, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Already a whole bunch of callers for you, Father.
Here we go.
Here we go. All right. Sid in Washington listening on Ave Maria Radio. Sid, thank you for your call. Your question for Father.
Yeah, hi, Father. Went to a family reunion lately, and a lot of people have fallen away from practicing the faith. One guy in particular said that he thought that the church didn't treat women well, and talked about doing altar linens and menial jobs. I think he's behind the times, but isn't there a book or two that had mentioned how the church has fought the cause of women through the ages?
You got me there. I'm trying to think of a specific book on that topic, and nothing comes to mind right away. But I think that in those conversations, what you need to point out is that you need to ask them, where are you getting your impressions? Did you get them from your own experience?
Yeah.
Have you seen women slaving away, ironing altar cloths and being treated menially? If you've been to Mass recently in the Catholic Church, you will notice that women are very prominent and well represented and largely in charge in a parish. I mean, they're doing all those things that the parish depends on. And so I would tell him, why don't you just go talk to your local Catholic parish priest and express your concerns about this issue, and he may be able to show you the role that women have in his parish, because the role of women now in the church is extremely active, and it always has been. So, but I'm trying to think of some kind of
book. I can't think of.
there are books that are like anti-feminist books that I could quote to you that refute feminism, but that's different from a positive presentation. So I don't want to cite them on air because they're kind of,
If we think of
hostile.
them, we'll say it later in the hour, Sid. If we think of one,
Right. But I would say, the Church venerates the Blessed Mother more than anyone else, and that's that whole narrative of like that by exalting women you oppress them. That is, there's no way for the Catholic Church to win from the point of view of the current media. If you exalt women and value them and focus on their lovely feminine qualities, then you will be called an oppressor no matter what. So I would just say question the sources that the person has, and send them to the local parish priest and say, if you really are concerned about it. But most of the time at these encounters, they're just throwing those comments out. And what you really might want to do is just say, when's the last time you went to Sunday Mass? And just get down to the brass tacks. Why is this an excuse? You feel that strongly about the role of women that it's keeping you away from the church? Maybe you just need to go to church.
Yeah. Sid, how's that?
Right.
Sorry
I gotta
about
tell you,
that.
Sid,
I'm sorry.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank
If
you.
I
God
can
bless
just
you.
tell you, Sid, I used to work for a bishop for years. I worked for a bishop, and they have, what the advisors.
But you were always a man, right?
I was always a man.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
yes.
Okay, just checking.
But
Because
when-
nowadays you never know.
When you go to the curia in most dioceses, the curia is made up of more women than men in general, and or at least as many, because you have
Well,
the
the diocesan offices.
the
yeah,
diocesan
for sure.
offices are like running schools offices or social ministry offices or liturgy offices or offices for deacons or all these
Chancellors.
things. Yeah, chancellors, women
Chancelloresses, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the priest thing. I think people get stuck on that and they cannot get past it. Sid, thanks for the call.
Well, it's like being a father. A mother cannot be a father. So sorry, can't change that.
Yes. Right. Mother can't be a father. That's pretty good philosophy there. You got an advanced degree in philosophy?
Yeah, right, exactly. That's why I studied so long.
Hey, we want to give you this free MP3, Confronting Contraception. It ties in with the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae, which is tomorrow. And if you don't know about Humanae Vitae, it's a very important letter, an encyclical letter of Pope Paul VI in 1968, in the summer of 1968. He released that letter, and it's a prophetic letter in many ways. It's not hard to read. If you ever want to read it, just sit down. It'll take you, I don't know, half hour to read through it. But we want to share with you this free MP3 about confronting contraception on the anniversary of that letter. You just go to Catholic.com. That's our website, Catholic.com. A banner will pop up and to say, you want this free MP3? And then you go, yeah, I want the free MP3. And then we're like, okay, here's a free MP3. And then you got a free MP3. MP3 is a sound file. It's a conversation Trent Horn and Damon Owens had on this very timely topic. Nothing more important to the health of society than the health of family, and that is what that is all about. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Open Forum with our chaplain, Father Hugh Barber, right after this.
This is Dr. Scott Hahn, and stay tuned for more Catholic Answers Live.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
We do our best to keep you well connected to all the events happening in our one holy Catholic and apostolic faith, from Rome to back home here in the U.S. and around the globe. It's also our goal to help each and every listener like you take this beautiful faith of ours out into the public square with great ideas on making a difference through engaging the culture.
Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo. Tomorrow morning, 9 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Pope Francis said, "The key that opens the door to the faith is prayer." Join St. Paul Street Evangelization by running a prayer station in the public square. You don't need to be a professional apologist or theologian. Just listen to the needs of the people you encounter. Offer encouragement, take prayer requests, and pray with people. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. This is why I love my job. I get to talk to people like Father Hugh all the time. You get to hear him answer questions. He did all that preparation at school.
Feelings mutual.
Yeah, but I don't have a degree from the Angelicum, Father. I mean, it's not like you're going to get something.
No, but you're like a literary and social genius. So it's okay.
Thank you. I was,
people
in fact, fishing for that.
People do not realize the depth of the knowledge of this man here. He always has to interview other people who are supposed to be the experts, but actually this is a man who knows a whole lot of stuff. So maybe someday we need to turn the tables and have you be interviewed.
Then you will see. I guarantee you will get to the full depth.
Catholic
it won't
Answers,
take you long.
We have quality here, and Cy is definitely right up there.
You're very kind, Father.
No, I'm just speaking the truth.
888-31-TRUTH is our number, 888-318-7884. Why does every single person in the booth think that you're joking? Why all the laughter?
They are not joking.
That is not. Let's go to Chase in Harrisonburg, Virginia, watching on YouTube. Chase, thanks so much for your call. Your question for Father.
Hi, Father Barber. This is
yes, of course.
Good to talk with y'all, and hope you're all doing well.
Thank you.
My question is, would it be sinful to work as a front desk receptionist for a hotel in which guests are allowed to have premarital sex? So this question kind of came up in context thinking back to Q&A I'd heard on the show about working to any degree in, say, an abortion clinic, say even as a receptionist. And that was just something that kind of tangentially came to mind. But yeah.
Well, the categories in moral theology are called material and formal cooperation. And as being the front desk person in the hotel, you are simply materially cooperating. Now, and it's very, very simple. You do not know. I mean, you do know from a human point of view what is likely the case, but you do not really know what they're going to do. They're simply getting a room, and we live in a society now, I mean, believe me, 50 or 60 years ago or so in most places, they would have given them separate rooms or there would have been an issue, but there isn't now in our society, and people need gainful employment, and you're not really cooperating in any sin they might commit because you're just simply providing them with a place to stay, and you don't really know what they're going to be up to, and you don't need to know or want to know. So you're not cooperating in their sin in a way which would include you in the sin. That is, people can do whatever they want. I mean, you could have two guys coming in and they're going to go up to the room and they look like they're straight, but they're not, and they're going to do some sinful act. Or they're going to go and they're going to take drugs in the room. Who's to know what people are going to do in hotel rooms? That's why I always bring holy water when I stay in a hotel room, and I just sprinkle the room before that's the first thing I do.
Wow.
Because you just go, my heavens, what has gone on here? You never know. So I would say, don't worry about it. It's the same thing. I mean, if they were going through the drive-through at a fast food, can I serve this couple who are preparing for an illicit relationship? Yes, I can. Do they need a place to stay for the night? Yes, they do. If they're going to commit some sin in the meantime, that's not my responsibility right now in the society in which I live. So I would just say, don't worry about it too much. Just pray for them. When you see them there, you see the silly guy and the girl, and you know that they're probably up to no good. Just pray for them and be as sweet and charitable, and try, if you can, if there's some way to bring in some kind of aspect of faith, or say God bless you, or some kind of gesture on your part, then that would be a good thing too. But I don't think that we need to burden ourselves with the idea that we can't work in places because people that stay there or work there commit sins, because in that case we could never get a job almost anywhere, and that includes Walmart and Kmart, and if that still exists, and Target and everything else. It's very, very hard to work nowadays without being materially confronted with these problems, even though you're not formally cooperating in the evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah, I'm sorry but really and truly, you have to protect people's right to work as well as everything else.
Right, and if we said we won't materially cooperate ever with any evil, you would be completely incapacitated by that.
Right, and it is too bad. But it's too bad that society's gotten to the point where, a couple who are not married can just show up and stay together.
Right.
But the problem is that the people that run our society, from the judiciary on down, have abandoned their responsibility to care for the moral life of the people that live in the country. And so ordinary people that work in places, they're not responsible. They're not rulers.
Fair enough. Chase, thanks very much for that call. There are still Kmarts. Just letting you know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. But
I don't shop very much.
And if you did, would you be able to find a Kmart? No, probably not around here. But we got one up in
Target and Walmart.
Yeah, got Target and Walmart. I got one in my town. Jared,
Food for less. We've got it all.
In Cupertino, California. Cool. Hey, Jared, you're on with Father. Your question.
Hello, Father. So my question was kind of like, why do you, from a theological perspective, why do you think that there are pro-life and pro-choice American politicians like, say, Paul Ryan or Pelosi? Because this is something that kind of bothered me, because I wanted to think. I thought about this for quite a bit, because for me it's like when you think about something like abortion, it's intrinsically evil. And my response for people like, say, Durbin or Pelosi or, say, the Kennedys would be that maybe they only pray, that maybe they're not as hardened on the faith, but then that would be contradicting what Jesus tells us in the Gospel of Matthew, where he says, we can judge their actions, but we can't judge their heart. So from a theological perspective, while not going to that extent, why do you think that there are those differences?
Well, that's a very big question, but I'll try to keep it simple. Of course, a Catholic politician by nature should be pro-life. But among the possible judgments that someone who's pro-life might make about how to favor and foster the life of those who are not yet born, they may have different opinions about how that's to be done. I give you an example. There were those who wanted a constitutional amendment to ban all abortion. Well, there are other, even conservative politicians who said, well, in this country, abortion's never been completely illegal, and maybe the best way to stop the killing of the children is to overturn this Supreme Court decision and leave it to the states, in which case you'll get New York, Illinois, Texas, and California will be the abortion states, and the others...
Not Texas, I don't think.
Well, not Texas, no, but I mean,
No.
yeah, New York, Illinois, California,
yeah.
that would be pretty much in Massachusetts, of course, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
you don't have to say
That's where
sorry. I
size
know.
from.
I'm familiar
All right,
with the politics
I mean,
of
the point is,
Massachusetts.
New England, they'll just die out because no one will be born there anymore.
Yeah.
They'll just have to import people to populate the place. But in any case, that approach is different from the hardcore, we need an amendment to outlaw this. It was similar to the question of slavery where, maybe it goes state by state, or maybe you have a constitutional amendment, maybe you have a war. So those are things about which good men and women can disagree.
Yeah.
You can't excoriate someone who says, look, I'm willing, in order to save some hundreds of thousands of people, to allow that in certain states they allow it. Because in our country, abortion was never completely illegal. And so some people say we have to go back to the pre-73 situation. Others are more radical and say, no, we just need to get rid of it completely. And so you can have a difference of opinion. Now that what I'm talking about there is on the conservative side. That's a difference among conservatives. But when you're talking about Pelosi and a lot of these other people, it becomes much more difficult. They would justify it by saying that we live in a system whereby if you're going to provide comprehensive health care for people, you've got to do this and this and this and this and this. I personally don't find their arguments especially convincing because they could take a stand and they don't. And in the meantime, they also take stands in favor of other moral enormities that Catholics can't support either. And so I would say that there is a leeway. You mentioned the theological perspective and different political opinions that Catholics could hold about how best to limit and to control the question of procured abortion and to protect the life of the unborn, and that leeway is there. But it is kind of obvious that certain politicians don't have any concern for this, and actually, when they start talking about, and this is the way it works, when they start talking about a woman's right to choose, like they have a right to this, the moment they talk that way, then they've exited completely a Catholic perspective. All right, because no Catholic could ever describe that as a right. They could say it's something that's been allowed, and we regrettably might allow it in some places in order to prevent it in others. But the idea that it's a right is the thing that Catholics should never accommodate.
Jared, thank you very much for that question. There are loads of calls today, so I'm going to keep moving. I hope that was helpful to you. Anonymous in Fort Worth, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. You are up next. Your question for Father Hugh Barber. Hi, Anonymous. Are you there in Fort Worth?
Oh, hello.
Hey there.
I'm sorry. The kids were
It's
causing
okay.
problems. So,
You've got other duties in the background there.
I wanted to ask a question. I have a father-in-law that is a deacon, and he's kind of agreed to and has already done a blessing of a house for his daughter who is cohabitating. And I'm wondering what I should really be saying, because that has already happened. I actually live with the father-in-law, and also I'm sure that there will come up other situations, and I'm wondering what my response should be to not only how me and my wife should respond to her sister, but also how me and my wife should respond in the future to my father-in-law.
Oh dear, how sad. So they're going to marry outside the church, and he blessed their house where they're already cohabitating. So I would say you yourself, if you want to just keep it very simple, do not have a strict moral obligation to try to correct or control the situation, because the deacon knows very well, and the couple know very well, and you, on the other hand, are you married? You're living with your father-in-law as a married man? or on your own?
Anonymous?
In the we said in
What happened there?
Hello?
We got a problem.
So
with
we got a little
Anonymous.
problem there.
Yeah.
I would just say that you yourself do not have an obligation in this case, other than just persuasion and good example. But you might approach whatever priest or parish where he's a deacon and express your concerns to the pastor, because the witness of the deacon blessing a house of a couple who are going to get married outside the church and are cohabitating is a counter witness, so he needs to correct his behavior before he continues more of it.
Anonymous, sorry, our phones were a little choppy there for that one, but I hope that that was indeed helpful to you. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to it when the show is posted right after the show. We have to take a quick break, but it is open forum today on Catholic Answers Live. Any question you got, whether you're Catholic or not, about the Catholic faith is welcome. Father Hugh Barber is our guest, and we'll be right back with more right after this.
Hi, this is Trent Horn. Did you know that you can have me and other Catholic Answers speakers headline your next conference or parish event? Go to CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com to get all the information you need to book one of our dynamic speakers today. That's CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com.
With the 50th anniversary of the release of Humanae Vitae approaching, you can expect fresh attacks on Catholic teaching from outside and, unfortunately, inside the Church. That's why Catholic Answers thought it critical to provide a vigorous affirmation of Paul VI's prophetic wisdom with our newest book, Inseparable: 5 Perspectives on Sex, Life, and Love in Defense of Humanae Vitae. We asked 5 distinguished contributors to reflect on and defend Humanae Vitae from 5 perspectives, each of them compelling, together forming a mosaic of truth. Don't be caught uninformed when the topic comes up among friends, family, and coworkers. Order your copy of Inseparable today by calling 1-888-291-8000 or visiting the shop at Catholic.com.
Is the Church wrong on contraception? In a culture that worships the pursuit of sexual pleasure, the Catholic Church's teaching on contraception can seem archaic and unintelligible. Its critics say it's outdated, theologically unfounded, and even harmful. And even faithful Catholics can have difficulty explaining this moral teaching. Catholic Answers is out to change all of that. That's why we've just released Trent Horn's dynamic new DVD, The Case Against Contraception. Using scripture, papal and magisterial teachings, natural law, and new insights provided by social science and medicine, Trent puts forward a compelling case for Catholic teachings with his trademark charity and persuasive graciousness. Be prepared to give a defense. Order your copy of The Case Against Contraception today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging on to the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
I'm Tom Price.
And I'm Gloria Purvis. Tomorrow, Father Vincent DeRosa.
Along with Amy McInerney, talking about the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae. Join us for Morning Glory, 7 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live, open forum. Father Hugh Barber, our guest this hour. Father Hugh Barber is our chaplain and a Norbertine priest, and open forum is our topic, which means if you've got a question, we'll do our very best to give you an answer about anything having to do with Catholic faith or life or history. Whether you're Catholic or not, you can call 888-318-7884. Sorry, we had a little phone trouble there with our last caller, but I think we got an answer out, but I don't know if he heard it. Michael in Lafayette, Indiana, watching on Facebook Live. Michael, thanks for joining us. Your question for Father.
Hey, Michael.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. I know that in other Christian denominations that a valid baptism can be valid, but I'm also wondering that if other baptisms can be valid, does that mean that when they celebrate the Eucharist, is that also valid in other Christian denominations as well?
Well, it depends upon the denomination because, of course, the Eucharist depends upon another sacrament, not just a baptism, but of the sacrament of holy orders. So in those Christian groups outside the communion of the Catholic Church that have valid orders, that have true bishops, priests, deacons, their Mass or their communion is also valid. But there's certain Christian groups, and they're basically the ones that come from the Protestant Reformation, who rejected explicitly holy orders and the priesthood and the Mass, and so they retain baptism as a valid sacrament and also marriage as a valid sacrament, although they don't believe that marriage is a sacrament usually, but they have baptism and marriage. But the ancient churches of the East, the Eastern Orthodox, the Syrian Orthodox, the Armenian Orthodox, Coptic Orthodox, all the different Orthodox groups who had different points at which they left the full communion of the Roman Church in the Roman Empire. They have true priests and deacons and bishops, and so they have a true Mass. So it depends upon the group, but they have all the sacraments, whereas the Protestants just have two.
And we will have to leave it there. Michael, I hope that was helpful to you. We got lots of folks on the line and want to get to as many as we can. Judy in Florida, also watching on Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. Judy, your question for Father.
Hey, Judy.
Thank you. Hi, Father. I have a question from the name of mercy. God is the name of mercy, or the mercy Pope Francis's book. He describes a scenario from another book, To Every Man a Penny, where there is a young German soldier that is about to be executed, and the priest is called to hear his confession, but the soldier says, I can't repent for something I enjoyed. If I had the chance, I'd do it again. And the priest is, in the book, describes that he is looking for a way to give absolution, but is not sure how he can do it.
Right, and so he says, are you at least sorry that you're not sorry, right? There's several stories like that. And actually, although a lot of Protestants, especially evangelicals and Calvinists, don't like this because they want something a little cleaner, the fact is that if you were God and you have this poor, weak young man who had a very difficult life and the only enjoyment he had were some illicit pleasures, and he's facing death, and at least he can be sorry and say, I wish I were sorry for this, but I just don't feel it. Because people don't distinguish between their feelings and their will. And so the point is, if he would choose to do God's will, he could do it, but he is weak at that moment, and he has a difficulty. So I would say yes, because we do whatever we can, and purpose of amendment is a virtue when we go to confession, and not having a purpose of amendment is a sin. And so I tell people, if you're weak in your purpose of amendment of your sins, then confess that. Like, confess all the sins that you have committed, and then say, but also I confess that I don't have a true purpose of amendment for these sins. Just that much, and then we say, well, we're going to go week by week, day by day, we're going to work on it, and just here and now, you want to have a purpose of amendment, so let's just work on it. A person who's dying, of course, it's a different question, but I don't think that God and the angels are standing there. The devil is there saying, no, he can't go to heaven because he wasn't fully sorry. As the devil is going to be saying all of that, but our Lord and the angels are going to be looking for every possible way to open up that heart to the grace of God and to His mercy. So yes, they can be absolved.
Does that satisfy your question, Judy?
Yes, it does. And thank you so much, Father. That was a beautiful answer.
Thanks be to God.
That meant a lot. Thank you.
Sure, peace.
Thank you, Judy. Again, 888-31-TRUTH, our number here, and it's open forum. So if you've been saving up a question, now's your chance. John in Indiana, watching on YouTube, you are up next. John, your question for Father Hugh Barber.
Hey, John.
Oh, hello, Father. Hello, Tim.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my call.
We're happy to have you.
Although we sigh, not Tim.
I'd like... Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Tim's here in a few minutes.
I'm all confused. I'd like to know how to defend the pomp and circumstance of the papacy against attacks by fundamentalists and evangelicals.
Oh, well, that's an easy one. First of all, have them open up the book of Revelation and say, what kind of liturgy and worship does this book describe? Does it look like anything that you folks do? pots of incense, singing choirs, people throwing themselves down, candlesticks of gold, vestments, all kinds of stuff going on there. So that's point number one. Say, well, look at the book of Revelation. It looks pretty grand, and the book of Revelation looks Catholic. It describes kind of a Catholic way of worshiping. Or at least I wish it did. I mean, that's the way it should look in other places, but in any case, that's the tradition. Then it's so easy because you just say, well, what about megachurches? I mean, it's just a question of looks. All right, the St. Peter's looks fancy because it's Baroque, and it's like has this art that other places don't have, and it's associated with the old world and all of that. But megachurches, they're even more pomp and circumstance because they have media control, excellent video and sound equipment, ensembles. They have makeup artists. They have couturier who have everyone dress a certain way. They have all these rules about all of that in order to have their own particular spin, and it costs a heck of a lot of money to run a megachurch and to look like that. And so I would say that is just not a completely sincere objection, because anything that you're trying to project to the world to give people the notion that this is something important will have to look nice. Otherwise, people won't take it very seriously. Now, granted, if we were as simple as St. Francis, it might be different, but we're not. And nowadays, the papacy, the pomp and circumstance of the papacy is basically the same media exposure that Protestant ministers have. So, what's the difference between the Pope and your big preacher? They get on TV a lot and people listen to them. So it's no different. And just tell them that and say, you have to examine the faith, not these forms.
John, what do you think of that?
I thought I'd be throwing you a curveball. I guess I didn't.
No, you sure didn't.
Good.
Well, I think you hit him right where he lives.
I would say if the Pope tomorrow put on the threefold crown and all those fancy old vestments, people would laugh at him and he'd be humiliated. And it might be a greater sign of humility than a lot of media exposure.
Wow.
So I'm just telling you.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate that call.
Long live the Queen.
Oh, no.
Just joking.
Oh, no. It came out.
They keep all that, too. Everything in the world is pomp and circumstance. Everything. Jesus came into Jerusalem.
Right. People will make it up. If they don't have a tradition of it, they'll make it up.
Yeah, right.
You're going to get that stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
It's human nature.
Right, but we have a desire to somehow, I don't want to say whip ourselves up, but somehow get ourselves up to appreciate what's sacred.
Right,
We don't want to not appreciate
Right, you wouldn't tell a bride at her wedding, well, you're just a simple Christian woman. Why are you dressing up like that? No one would say that.
No, that's right.
So, I mean, it's the same thing.
And we're at the wedding feast.
Right, exactly.
I like it, Father. I also like it when callers get you whipped up. Victor in South Bend, Indiana. Well, we are big in Indiana today, listening on the Catholic Answers app. Victor, so happy to have you with us. Your question for Father Hugh Barber.
Hi, thanks for taking the call.
Hey there, yeah.
Okay, my issue, it's kind of, I've been married for 23 years, happily married. But my wife, after our third kid, she decided to not have any more kids. So she did the, how do you say that?
Ligation. Tubal ligation.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did it. I was against it. So, of course, after the years, she confessed with the priest. The priest said, well, at least you already have 3 kids. And the Lord is mercy, so just work for him, have service for him.
Mm-hmm.
We do have sometimes we do have we go to do some service for marriage or family. I just wanted to know how to handle that kind of issue, and with other persons. So if we have to have like a testimony of our life, and we did that. And the other one is kind of, I think I'm still not over that issue, because I did want to have another son, but over the years we are okay, so we don't have any issue. But I'm the one still with that issue, or haven't let go yet. So
All right, Victor, let's let Father respond.
Well, I would say the key is, you said she's confessed and repented. So that's the key there, that she knows she did something wrong and she's sorry for it. And then you don't need to feel guilt because you were against it anyway. Maybe you felt you should have resisted it more firmly. I have to confess my ignorance because I'm not an expert on these issues, but I know that men who have vasectomies can sometimes have them reversed, but I don't think that tubal ligations can be reversed.
I have not heard of that.
No, that's not possible. So you're in a situation that's irreversible, and I would just leave it with the advice that you got from the priest, and then you need to pray particularly that you won't give in to resentment, or you won't burden her with reproaches or anything, and I'm sure you don't. But and I think talking to her about it might be a little bit delicate because if she's already confessed and repented, she has a burden of guilt that she's tried to deal with, and can't she can't do anything else to accommodate it. And so I would pray for her and for the children you already have, and just entrust the whole thing to God. But I'd be very careful about continuing a discussion of the issue if there's something which just simply can't be remedied. That's that old prayer, God give me the wisdom to accept the things I cannot change, and what is it? God give me the wisdom to
the Serenity Prayer.
Right, Serenity Prayer.
All
right.
I can say is the
Right.
Serenity Prayer because I can't remember it at the moment either.
But the point is to and anyway, so but to know the difference between the things that we can change and not change, and be wise in that regard, so that we can serve others peacefully. So, but I'm very sorry about that. That's a terrible burden. But our Lord has something for you in all of that that you need to discover in your prayer to Him, and you can always seek spiritual counsel from a good confessor or priest.
Okay, Victor.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Yeah,
you
thanks.
too. Thank
God
you,
bless
Victor.
It's the accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go. Hey, there's only 1 week left in our Great Big Giant store-wide summer sale. Almost all the books, DVDs, audio tracks, digital products, everything we got, almost all of it's on sale, 10 to 25% off, in some cases even more, including, just about everything. Tim will be here next hour. I got a stack of stuff from Tim. You can get it all. I think all of Tim's stuff is on sale. No promo code needed. Just shop and save. Hundreds of great resources on sale. Go to shop.catholic.com today and begin to save. And it goes away in 6 days or 7 days. Whenever this month ends, the sale ends. We'll be right back with more Father Hugh Barber, Open Forum, after this.
Hang on. We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers Live is brought to you in part by CatholicSingles.com, the website for Catholics who want to meet others who share their Catholic values for faith, fellowship, and love. You can learn more at CatholicSingles.com. Catholic Answers Live thanks CatholicSingles.com for their generous support.
Homeschool Connections, an online provider of courses for your Catholic homeschool, is a sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. Homeschool Connections website is homeschoolconnections.com.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
I said to the sisters one day, what do you think you're going to look like in heaven? Oh, some of them had absolutely magnificent ideas. I didn't think of one of them. And so I got desperate because then my turn came. I didn't know what to say. And so in desperation, I said, what do you think I'll wear in heaven? And they all said with one voice, armor.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Our guest, Father Hugh Barber. Our topic, whatever's on your mind, because it's open forum. And we go now to Sean in Oklahoma City, listening on 97.3 FM. Sean, your question for Father.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call, and thank you for hosting a program that's open to a variety of cultures to ask questions.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
My question, sure. So I work for a cultural heritage center, and I study a wide variety of cultures. my main study has been within Abrahamic culture. But from the far Western cultures of Native American cultures to Far Eastern cultures, and certainly within Middle Eastern cultures such as ancient Egypt and Judaism, the highest principle comes down to balance. Throughout the world, that seems to be the most consistent, highest principle. And it's balancing male and female, or left and right. It's referred to in different ways. And so we have this balancing of left and right, or male and female, that produces life, just as we see with a dad and a husband and a wife produce a child. So this balancing of male and female gives
Sean, maybe if I could hear your question, just because we have just a few minutes left.
Yeah,
so just what is the question? Thank you.
Sure. The question is related to the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. We have this male as it's presented.
No. In our theology, see, in language, human language, which is human is male and female. So in human language about God, we speak in terms of gender. We use masculine gender and female gender, or feminine gender, referring to God. But we know theologically that God, who is not, doesn't have a body, and therefore is not divisible by sex, is neither male or female. He is God, like the angels are neither male nor female. But when we speak of God in human terms, we have to use the terms that are based on our human nature, and therefore we use certain aspects of our human nature to refer to certain aspects in God. And it is true, not just in Judaism, but even in Catholicism, in the Old Testament, the Spirit of God is often described as a she. It's there in the wisdom literature. The Spirit of God is a mighty spirit, and she is, and so on and so on. So, but that doesn't mean that in God there's actual sex. And so it's a misunderstanding, because we can't pull God down to our human categories. We have to lift our human categories up to Him. And that's what Catholic theology has always done. It's always shown that although we use human language, when God became a human being in Christ, He had to become either male or female. He became male, right, of a virgin mother who is female. And then that lifts us up to the possibility of contemplating God who is beyond sex. Our Lord says very clearly that in the kingdom of heaven they're neither married nor given in marriage. And St. Paul says in Christ they're neither male nor female. So you need to get the Catholic theology down and get away from the Jungian New Age notions that you have that are imprisoning your mind, so you're not able to understand the way in which we talk about God. We have to talk about God in human terms, but it doesn't mean that He's just like a human.
And Sean, I hope that that's helpful. We will leave it there because I'm still working my way through lots and lots of calls here. We are so big in Indiana. Do you have like relatives in Indiana? A lot of calls from Indiana. Anonymous.
Not even the Music Man.
In India. In Indianapolis. You're up next, Anonymous. You have a question for Father?
Hey, thanks, you guys. Yeah, I came up to Indianapolis to help my mother move from one memory care facility to another. And while I was here, my wife called and said she wanted a divorce.
I'm sorry.
She went through RCIA. Yeah, thanks. She went through RCIA, but over the course of our 20-year marriage, she has become pretty much anti-Catholic. And that pretty much goes back to her mother's Baptist upbringing. I suspect that just the way she operates, and she will never go to family counseling. I tried to get her to all kinds of stuff. I tried to ask her to go to Mass. She wouldn't do any of that stuff. So kind of a hypothetical question, but I thought it'd be interesting. If she calls me back and says she wants me to come home, do I have to go? That make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I would say the presumption is in favor of your going because she's your wife. But I don't know all the circumstances and aspects of your relationship. It doesn't sounds like there are a lot of issues underlying here that are personal, and that religion has maybe become the symbol of the personal issues. So I think you would say, look, I'll come back, but we need to get counseling together. We need to work through our problems. I just can't come back after being thrown out and then just start over without some kind of help enabling us to communicate better so that we can have a happy life together. That's just a rule of prudence, you know. We practice the virtue of prudence. So I would just say, yes, it's a good thing for you to come back because you've been married for 20 years, but I would say going back without dealing with these issues and having a real communication would not be necessarily a prudent thing to do.
Okay, Anonymous?
Yeah, that covers it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Peace.
And your mother.
We'll pray for you, okay?
888-318-7884 is the number. Don't worry if we're getting towards the top of the hour and you're on the line. Tim Staples will be here next hour. We'll continue to answer questions. I'm trying to get through as many as I can this hour. Anonymous in Daytona Beach, Florida, listening on Facebook Live. You are up next, Anonymous. Your question for Father.
Good afternoon, and God bless you both for your apostolate.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure.
I'm an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion, and I ran into a very unusual situation recently. I wanted to run this past the Father and get his opinion to see if this was licit. A parishioner came to me, received the Eucharist, and then produced a small brass circular box, which I believe is called a pyx,
Yes,
P-Y-X.
Right.
And she asked for another Eucharist to be given to her sick father. And because we have a large parish and they rotate us through different parts of the sanctuary, I had never seen this parishioner before, but I gave her the Eucharist for the pyx. And afterwards, I felt a little guilty about this, and I wanted to get Father's opinion about whether this was licit or not.
Well, it's not really licit in the sense that you have to have some certification or proof that the person is a legitimate extraordinary minister. And although usually they are, you just never know. I know one case that I experienced where someone saw that you could bring up a pyx to receive the hosts to give communion after Sunday Mass, who was not an extraordinary minister. And so I would say the better thing to do is say, well, if your father's in the hospital, then apply to the parish, or I can bring him communion. I'm an extraordinary minister. But just giving out a host because someone asked for it, I know it sounds mean, but it is the Blessed Sacrament. So I would just say, we'll take care of it, but let me have your name and your number, and we can get the Eucharist to your father. But I'm not authorized to hand you the Blessed Sacrament unless my pastor, whoever has delegated me, has said, please give the Blessed Sacrament to Mrs. So-and-so. So I would just say no. Although it is hard in the moment because it usually is a person of goodwill, but I would say no, you can't do that.
And I didn't know quite what to do.
Right, of course.
Could you maybe just say, could you talk to Father after Mass and let the priest handle it? Or?
Right, exactly. Just tell her to go to the clergy and just take care of it. But were you at Mass when this happened?
Of course, yes.
Oh, this was at Mass.
Distributing the
Okay,
Eucharist.
well then, right. But I thought it was in a different situation where you're distributing the Eucharist. Okay, so in that case, just point to the priest and say, talk to him. You know.
That'll work.
Yeah, but yeah, this does happen. Yeah.
Okay, Anonymous, does that
Very good, Father.
Okay, very good. Thank you. One time, Father, I was at it's a vigil mass for Easter, no, for Christmas, at a monastery, and these young kids were there, and they were dressed, let's say, not like everyone else was dressed, and one of them took the Eucharist in the hand and just walked away, and like the monks surrounded this kid. I was like commando monks. I was like, wow, these guys are, but the idea was, the idea, I think they were saying, well, you consume that here because I guess people take the Eucharist and do things that are foul. Is that
right?
correct?
Or in good faith, like on Easter, someone takes the host and then wraps it up in a tissue to bring to their husband. They don't know any better.
Yeah.
That happens too.
May we have your blessing, Father, before we go?
Benedictio Dei omnipotentis Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, descendat super vos et maneat semper. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father.
Peace now.
Thanks, and safe travels to you. I know you're going to go give a retreat somewhere in the world.
West Virginia.
In West Virginia. take me home.
Charles, Mountain Mama, take me home, right.
Hey, listen, if you're on the line, stay on the line. Don't go anywhere. If you haven't called, you're welcome to call 888-31-TRUTH. We are going to do another hour of open forum. It's open to everybody, whether you're Catholic or not. And we expect Tim Staples here for the next hour to take your calls. We'll be back to do that right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers Live.
God helps those who help themselves. Preach the gospel always. When necessary, use words. We all hear sayings like these, and we assume they come from the Bible, the saints, or famous Christian writers. Nobody can seem to place their origin, but by sheer repetition, they've acquired a halo of truth. In my new book, What the Saints Never Said, I look at over 40 of these well-known sayings and track them back to their original sources. You'll be surprised at what I found. Some are close to what was really said. Many were misattributed or twisted beyond their original meaning, and more than a few of these sayings were simply made up. I hope by setting the record straight, I can make you aware of the theological errors that can lead us away from the faith and offer you authentic quotes from Scripture, saints, and scholars that will draw you closer to our faith. Get your copy of What the Saints Never Said by calling 1-888-291-8000, by visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or by asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Over the years, we have heard thousands of stories of how the ministry of Catholic Answers and Catholic Answers Live has changed lives all over the world. Do you have such a story? We'd love to hear how Catholic Answers has changed your life. Send your story to us today. Email us at mystory@catholic.com, or you can call 619-387-7200 to make an audio recording of your story.
Looking for an on-fire Catholic speaker for your event? Catholic Answers speakers will inform and inspire your audience to grow in their Catholic faith. For more information on booking a Catholic Answers speaker, visit CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com today.
Did you know that Catholic Answers Live is on TV? What began as a monthly series on EWTN in April of 2017 is now going to be coming to you on a weekly basis. You can catch Catholic Answers Live TV Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN, with an encore at 2:30 a.m. on Sundays. We'll also be available soon on Apple TV, Roku, and the Augustine Institute's multimedia platform, Form. Make a point of making Catholic Answers Live TV part of your weekly viewing, and we'll see you on the airwaves.
Sharing the gospel with family and friends can be challenging. It's especially hard when they won't even hear you out because of all the mental roadblocks they've built up. This is Carlo Broussard, and in my new book, Prepare the Way, my aim is to help you tackle that essential first step to apologetics and evangelization, getting people to listen with an open mind. Even our best witness can bounce right off folks like these if we don't prepare the way first, breaking down barriers and leaving minds and souls free to encounter the truth. I'll give you evidence and arguments and step-by-step strategies based on asking the right questions to help them overcome their obstacles and make a straight path for the Lord. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Hello, my friends. This is Christopher Check, president of Catholic Answers. I'm sure you have heard that it's still okay these days to hold to the quaint superstitions of Catholicism as long as you leave them in church, because when it comes to reality, religion is just foolishness that withers in the fierce light of science. Problem is, this narrative is false. It is in the Christian West that scientific discovery has most flourished. Still, too many of us find ourselves flat-footed when confronted with bugbears like Adam and Eve versus evolution, creation versus Big Bang, and Galileo versus the Inquisition. What can you do? Come to Catholic Answers 5th National Conference, Faith and Science. Guest speakers Father Terry Ehrman and Dr. Stacy Trasankos will join the whole Catholic Answers team to explain how faith and science are actually in harmony. September 27 to 30, right here in San Diego. And we are thrilled to announce a special keynote address by Raymond Leo Cardinal Burke honoring the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae. For all the details, visit CatholicAnswersConference.com.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
What a day I am having. Father Hugh Barber, first hour, Tim Staples, second hour. If I don't learn something these 2 hours, I'm just not capable of learning. 888-318-7884 is our number. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and it's open forum today on Catholic Answers Live. If you got a question about the Catholic faith, maybe something you've been holding on to for a while and you think, oh, I could call today, or maybe you got a family member who's got a challenge for you and like some help getting over that challenge. Maybe you're a Catholic yourself and there's just something you haven't understood about the Catholic faith or how to make sense of some aspect of the Catholic faith. Maybe you're not Catholic or not associated with Catholics, but you'd like to know why we do something or believe something. We would love to share our best answer with you. 888-318-7884, that number. Tim is the Director of Apologetics and Evangelization here at Catholic Answers, also a world-traveling speaker of great renown, and you can get him to come to your spot, whether it's in Australia or India or right here in the United States, by going to CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com. He's also the author of many things, nuts and bolts I have here in front of me, and also Behold Your Mother, a Biblical and Historical Defense of the Marian Doctrines. Hi, Tim.
Hello, Dr. Cy Kellett. How are you?
I am very well. You know, there is a Dr. Cy Kellett.
There is?
Is my dad.
Your dad.
Yeah, but
I got the wrong Cy.
I'm a master or whatever's lower than that. So it's getting good around here because you're back in regular rotation.
I am.
You were greatly missed, and it's good to have you back. It's still feeling well.
I am, and it's great to be back and answering emails as well. But what an email we got today, huh?
Yes.
Well, actually, we got a couple of them, just phenomenal. You know, folks that are listening don't know what we're talking about, but one of the, just, how do you even explain it? You call it a blessing, but it's wow. One of the huge blessings of working here at Catholic Answers is you get these daily, and it is virtually daily, that we get testimonials, coming in.
Right.
Today, a couple of them, but a pastor and who was the other one? Well, just phenomenal stories of coming to the truth, the last place they thought they would find truth, and giving up everything to become Catholic.
And like this pastor's wife who wrote us today about she and her husband both coming into the church.
Yeah.
They don't have anything that's not connected to their ministry. When they leave that Protestant ministry and come into the Catholic Church, they're leaving everything.
Everything. It depends upon the denomination, but in their particular denomination, everything.
And God bless them, they're doing it.
They are.
Because they feel this deep call to the Catholic faith. And,
Amen.
And they mentioned you in there, and but Catholic Answers in general as well.
Yeah.
And she wrote something in there that struck me. I thought, oh, that is the experience that I have. Yeah, but I'm a Catholic my whole life. She said, when I listen to Catholic Answers, I get the holes filled in things that I didn't understand theologically. And I love when that happens. That happens to me all the time here.
Yeah. It's just beautiful, though, folks. Yeah. And all of you out there that support us here at Catholic Answers, you really do contribute and participate in each one of those thousands and thousands of souls whose lives are changed forever, man. What a blessing we have here all around at Catholic Answers.
We do indeed, and it doesn't do anybody any good if we sit here and talk in front of these microphones.
That's right. Let's do it.
And 888-318-7884. What I was going to say is that we can talk in front of these microphones, but if you don't support your local Catholic radio station and keep, it's the people that build these things make this possible.
Yeah.
And the message goes out. 888-31-TRUTH. There's a lot of questions already, Tim.
Yes.
You've stretched and you're ready to take questions already?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yes.
Mary in Jordan, New York, listening on the station of the Cross Radio. Mary, you are up. Your question for Tim Staples. Mary? No? Hang on a second. Don't go anywhere, Mary, because I'm having trouble with buttons
This one
today.
also.
Okay. Hi, Mary. You're on the air now. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, okay. I have a concern about what to do if an older relative, say a grandmother or a great aunt or someone, is really wanting baptism for, say, 8 to 14-year-old nieces or grandchildren, and there is very little opportunity or hope of proper catechesis before or after baptism.
Mm-hmm.
These situations are cropping up in a fairly regular way, and I'm wondering what I know what the official pastoral teaching would be from the church,
Right.
but I'm wondering, how do you respond to these very concerned older relatives? What do you do about it?
Right. Okay. Well, let me see. I need to clarify here. So the older relative is pressuring for the 8 to 14-year-old to be baptized, even though the parent is not attending Mass, doesn't care about the faith. Is that your concern?
I don't think pressuring the child is the case. It's just that
or pressuring the parents.
The parents are uninterested.
Okay. Right.
In doing the children are not opposed, but are
Right.
not catechized in any way. The older relative is concerned for the souls of the children. That's
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Now I think I got it. Well, I think when you're talking about 8 to 14, as you know, Mary, this child now has reached the age of accountability, and so this is not something that even a parent can force upon them if a child doesn't want to be baptized. So I think what we need here is evangelism all around, to evangelize the grandma, to help her to understand, look, it's not so simple as we're just going to take this child and baptize them. We need to evangelize a family here. Because if the parents, as you say, are not interested, the child is kind of, well, I don't really care. Well, it sounds to me like everybody's in need of evangelization, and the child is not ready to be baptized. And so, hey, that's much of the world, wouldn't you say, Si?
Yes,
is
right.
in that situation. That's what we encounter every day as we live our lives, are families that are indifferent or maybe even in other denominations and such that need to be evangelized, or they're atheist or whatever. So that what I would encourage you to do, or anybody in that situation, is to evangelize. The very basic message of the gospel needs to be proclaimed. Repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. Because once Jesus enters into the picture, that's when things get cleared up.
Okay, Mary?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Pray for me.
Okay, Mary. God bless you.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
We will indeed, Mary. Thanks very, very much. 888-31-TRUTH, our number, 888-318-7884, the number. It's funny because we have this mandate to evangelize, but I guess we just assume we go on to step B or C or D, and we forget. You got to start with
Amen.
Proclaim the good news of Jesus.
Proclaim Jesus Christ. This is, and I tell you, you'll hear me often sing the praises of Pope Francis, but this is one example where Pope Francis, from his, the Evangelii Gaudium, right?
Right.
the gospel of joy, right from when he became Pope. He has exhorted us consistently to proclaim the gospel. Proclaim the gospel, take it to the streets. I loved in paragraph 132 of that apostolic exhortation where he said we need a creative apologetic. We need to not just use the old standard, but we need a creative apologetic to give credibility to the gospel to the people of our time. You know, it's a great message, and he's consistent with it, and that is something that we need to understand as Catholics, that we need to be all about. We need to be Jesus people. We need to be the ones that are known for proclaiming the gospel everywhere we go. Oh, here come them Catholics, man. They're going to be talking about Jesus. You know how those Catholics are, right?
Right. That's a good reputation to have.
That is
you get it.
That is a good reputation to have. And we're living in an age, this post-Christian, really... You know, I argue, in fact, Cardinal Ratzinger makes the argument in his book, great little book, In the Beginning, that we're living in really a neo-pagan culture.
Right.
You know, and so people are in desperate need of evangelization. Pope Francis used the image of a battlefield. And when you go out into a battlefield and people are hemorrhaging, you know, you don't take their cholesterol. You know, a lot of times we're so focused on taking cholesterol, we're letting people hemorrhage to death right in front of us because they need Jesus. Anyway, I'm getting on my soapbox here, Si, but this, let me tell, and I'll tell you what, you walk around, if you ever come in San Diego, anybody that's watching right now, come by and see us at Catholic Answers, because we got a building full of people who are all about proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what we're about.
Right, right. You know, they asked me when you got here, they said talk about the cruise with Tim.
Yes.
And that's funny because we're having this conversation, and I mean, the cruise is a lot of fun, and we're going to have a great time on the cruise and all that. But you get around people for whom this is the interest. Well, how do I communicate the gospel to people? How do I communicate in this or that situation? And then you got a Tim Staples there, or you got a Carla Broussard, or a Chris Check, or a Father Hugh Barber there, and you get to have these great conversations. So we want to invite you to come on the cruise with us. We're going to cruise the Caribbean or the Caribbean, either of those, on February 10th to 17th next year, 2019, on Holland American Line's brand new ship. I mean, it's going to be brand new when we get on it. It's called the New Statendam. I did my best. I don't know how to do it.
You're just not Dutch, are you?
I'm not Dutch enough. No, but is anybody Dutch enough, Tim? That's a question we should always all be asking. You can come on that cruise. You just go to CatholicAnswersCruise.com. You're going to be there.
I am. I can't believe it. It's not that far away.
I know.
February 10th through the 17th. I mean, we're just starting to advertise it, but guys, you got to jump on board here, literally, right? Jump on board. Because this is exciting. We are, I tell you, I've been on the Caribbean cruise before, and it was absolutely phenomenal, but we're going to rock the Caribbean, I'll guarantee you.
The closest I've ever gotten is Fort Lauderdale, so I'm interested to see what they've got down there.
Oh, my goodness.
Caribbean.
My wife and I are addicted to the Caribbean. We've been there so many times, I couldn't even tell you how many times.
That's cool. I'm glad to hear
We went to St. Martin on our honeymoon, been to like Cancun 4 times, Puerto Vallarta. We've been to Jamaica. We've been to St. Thomas. We've been, and I'm sure I'm leaving a couple.
Maybe we should bring somebody who hasn't gone then. Why are we bringing Staples? Now all kinds of cool places. It starts in Fort Lauderdale. You go to Half Moon Bay in the Bahamas. We go to Jamaica on this, Ocho Rios, Jamaica.
Yes.
I think we go over to Mexico. We go to Cayman Islands.
And
then over to Cozumel, Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing about these things are, and the cruise that I got to go on was the one in Canada, coming down through the St. Lawrence Seaway, and you were there, and you got sick on that one.
Yes, I did. I've done that one twice.
But the thing is, the people are what makes the cruise. You have these dinners. It's these magnificent conversations. So I hope you will, if you're thinking about taking a Caribbean cruise or even a Caribbean cruise, just go to CatholicAnswersCruise.com. Or if you want to give a call, you can call the Cruise Authority at 844-217-6457.
I will guarantee you, I have friends now all over this country from these cruises, and I run into them on a regular basis as I travel and speak. You know, it's like, hey, you know,
I know.
Because you really do. You get to know folks, and you get those quiet times, whether at meals and stuff, where you sit down and really get to know folks. It's fantastic.
I have to say, too, a thing I noticed is, you sit at a table with a different apologist each night, and there's Tim Staples. Everybody has gone to bed, and he's still sitting there with his table. Talking about Jesus and preaching, and everybody's having a great time at that table. So
that's right. So get ready to stay up late if you're at my table. That's all there's.
You will be at some point. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Open Forum with Tim Staples right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Did Jesus ever claim to be God? Or did his followers later come to think he was divine, like it was for the Buddha? Critics of Christianity affirm the latter. But is this true? The answer is no, and here are some reasons why. First, the idea of Jesus' divinity had to have come from Jesus himself, because it doesn't make sense that faithful monotheistic Jews would just out of the blue begin thinking a man was God. Second, the Gospels record Jesus saying things that suggests his divinity. For example, he applies the divine name, I am, to himself in John chapter 8, verse 58. Mark 2, 5-7 tells us Jesus merited the charge of blasphemy by claiming to have power to forgive sins. So, Jesus claimed to be God. That's a fact. But should we believe him? Well, that's a question for some other time. I'm Carlo Broussard with a ready reason for Catholic Answers, Catholic.com.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
I would describe myself as a revert, and ever since I came back to a practice of my faith, I started praying the rosary, going to even daily Mass. God has led me on an amazing journey and used me in a lot of incredible ways that I never dreamed would have been possible, and I'm just so grateful to God for all of his gifts and blessings in my life.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, tomorrow, noon Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live, Open Forum. And I'm just going to not talk too much so we can get lots of calls in. I know lots of people want to talk to Tim. Pablo in Atlanta, Georgia, listening on EWTN. You're up first this hour. Your question for Tim, Pablo.
Hey, Sai, Tim. So nice to talk to you, and thank you for your ministry.
All right, brother.
My question, thank you. My question is, my son, he's 22. He was reading some article or something that someone wrote regarding some research about Jesus, the person, and it said that Jesus, based on the demographics of the Jews at that time, was around 5'2" or 3" or something like that. It might not be resemble the paintings that we see most of the time. And I read about that, and I think I read that face is like of a person in Europe. But anyways, what's our take in regards to Jesus' appearance and physical characteristics?
Right. Well, of course, we don't have anything magisterial that I'm aware of. Anyway, in fact, I'm pretty confident I can say, Si, we don't have anything magisterial on what Jesus looks like. But we do have, as you mentioned, we do have things like the Shroud of Turin, which I'm always amazed at just how incredible that shroud is and how they've run so many tests on it, and every one of them comes up. It is what it appears to be, except one test, carbon dating, which has since been explained why it was off, because it was a edge of the shroud that was taken, and of course it was in a fire in the Middle Ages, and hence you got some samples from the Middle Ages where it was repaired. So, I mean, the tests keep coming back. It's incredible what we discover about the shroud, some of the intricacies, some of the things that just can't be explained by natural means and scientific means. So, having said that, I think we do have a good idea of how Jesus would have looked, he looked exactly like Jim Caviezel. That's how he looked. You know?
Did Moses look like Charlton Heston?
Charlton Heston. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I say that tongue in cheek, but you know that Mel Gibson and company actually did try to make him look like the Shroud.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the nose and everything. It is remarkable. If you put Jim Caviezel next to the Shroud, it is quite remarkable. Now, as far as his height, it is true the average man in the first century would have been about 5'2" to 5'4", as I recall. I researched this many years ago, so I'm kind of going off the top of my head. But according to the Shroud, Jesus was very tall. He was much taller than the average man. As I recall, anywhere from 5'10" to 6'2", in that range, estimated by the Shroud. Phenomenal. And so when you look at Jesus, though, in the Shroud, he's not so much a European-looking fellow. There is, he does have Semitic sort of qualities, and that's what we would expect here, his nose and so forth. So we do have, this is not magisterial, and Catholics are free to disagree about this, but I do think you have a pretty solid, certainly, it's worthy of pious belief.
Yeah.
To accept that the Shroud is authentic, and so we do have that to go off of.
Pablo?
That's great information. I'll tell him that, and
all right, brother.
Hope he takes it.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
thank you.
All right. Well, God bless you. And for anybody who is in the Southern California area, I have been meaning to get up to the Shroud Center forever, and I have a good friend, Dave Bells.
In Orange County?
Up in Orange County.
Yep.
And my good friend Dave Bells from the Thomas More Law Center keeps bugging me. I'm coming. He keeps telling me I got to get up there. But if you want to see, it's a replica, but they have great classes there, instructors that will give you insights as to the nature of the Shroud. It's a great, great place to visit. And now I can't remember. I know it's in Orange County. Used to be in Huntington Beach, but now it's at at a camp where you go to, you take your kids.
It'll come to me.
I've been there, but I can't think of it.
I've been there several times, and I don't know, because you asked me the question. That's the way it is now that I'm in my mid-50s. If you ask me a question, immediately I don't know the answer. It just goes away. But
my kids go there every year.
I don't know if you've been up to in Sacramento. They have a Shroud Museum up there.
Oh, they do,
and it's magnificent. And they have a like a carving that will show, that gives you the body.
I will tell you this. When I went to Rome and went to Turin and saw the actual Shroud in the year 2000, oh my goodness, I have to tell you, folks, they only bring it out every Jubilee year as a rule, every 25 years, and then the popes will bring them out for very special occasions. And my wife and I led a pilgrimage with my priestly brother, Father Terry Staples, along with another couple of priests and 118 of our best friends. And I tell you the truth, I wasn't expecting much when we went in and actually viewed the real Shroud when we walk in, but I was overwhelmed.
I imagine.
When you see it, it's in fact, I mean, I love the Shroud Center and all of that, but it's nothing like the real deal, because it's like 3D, man. It jumps out at you, and you know what? They had it in this they built a little building for it, and you go up this ramp kind of, and you only have like 5 minutes, so they kind of keep you moving slowly, and you have a guy explaining things as you go through, but there's just hundreds and hundreds of people waiting in line, and as soon as you leave, there were 100 priests hearing confessions.
Oh, isn't that great?
100 priests, and let me tell you, my wife and I went right to and got, and every one of those priests had a line of 3 or 4 people, because everybody was filing over there going, it is so powerful when you see the Shroud. You can see the striations in his shoulders. I noticed that, the musculature. You can see the crisscross whip marks on the backs of his legs as well as on his back and such. You can see that his nose was smashed. You can see that his eye was swollen shut. He was beaten badly. You can see the blood stains. It is absolutely incredible. So if you can get there in a Jubilee year when the shroud is exposed, it is a life-changing experience.
Wow, I'm really glad Al called. Thanks for that, Al. 888-31-TRUTH is our number, 888-318-7884. I'm going to go to Louise in Virginia, listening on the Catholic Answers app. But Louise, this might be one of those we have to hold you over through the break to get the full answer. Is that okay, Louise?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, your question for Tim?
Okay, so my son is 15, and over this past winter, he lost 2 friends.
Oh.
One to suicide, and one, he was in an accident, and the hospital mixed up medication and gave him something he was allergic to.
Wow.
So it's been a very difficult winter. I'm Catholic. My son's going through RCIA now, and I used to teach CCD many, many years ago. So I'm fairly comfortable with catechism and things like that. And my son is now very worried that both of his friends are in hell. One because he was not a Christian, the one who had the mix-up in the hospital, and was doing things he shouldn't have been doing. The other one because it was a suicide. And I don't quite know how to counsel him right now.
Right, yeah. Well, I tell you, first of all, man, oh my goodness, I am so sorry to hear. The pain must be incredible that he's experiencing right now. But you know, the Catechism of the Catholic Church exhorts us in these kinds of situations, for example, with suicide, and I'm sure you already know this, but the Catechism says we always have reason for hope, even in the case of suicide, because in those cases we know psychologically, most likely, this young man was so tormented that his culpability may well have been mitigated. We don't know, of course, absolutely, but we do have reason to hope in these situations. I'll tell you what, I'm going to need to come back after the break.
Let's do it.
And we'll finish it.
Louise, thanks. Thanks for your patience. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Tim Staples' Open Forum on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
Your questions, Catholic Answers, live.
Are faith and science compatible? Are they friends or foes? Catholic Answers magazine is tackling that question and others with our very special Faith and Science issue, delving deep into what is arguably one of the most debated topics of our day. Want to be sure to get your copy? Subscribe right now to the best Catholic apologetics magazine anywhere by calling 818-487-2011 or going to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com. We'll take an in-depth look at the Catholic view of evolution with Dr. Stacy Trasenkos. We'll review the most common misconceptions about how faith and science stand in opposition with Dr. Chris Kazor. And apologist Trent Horn will refute the skeptic's claim that something can come from nothing, plus so much more. Don't miss out on what will be a virtual handbook on one of the most important issues of our day. Call 818-487-2011 or go to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com right now to get subscriptions for yourself and those you love. Share the faith, defend the faith. Catholic Answers Magazine. From Catholic Answers, the most trusted name in Catholic apologetics.
Hey everyone, this is Carlo Broussard, and I'm here to tell you about a very special promotion we look forward to every year, our annual store-wide summer sale in the online shop at Catholic.com. This spectacular online event includes savings of 10 to 25% and more in some cases on every book, tract, CD, DVD, ebook, and MP3 we carry, including my new book, Prepare the Way. With lower prices and a great selection, it's by far the best online Catholic sale of the summer. So log on now and all this month to the shop at shop.catholic.com and take advantage of our very special prices. You know it's all good stuff because it's from the people you know and trust at Catholic Answers.
I'm Tom Price.
And I'm Gloria Purvis. Tomorrow, Father Vincent DeRosa.
Along with Amy McInerney talking about the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae. Join us for Morning Glory, 7 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Open forum today, so happy to have you with us. It just came to me the Santiago Center of Orange County.
That's it.
Santiago Center. That's where the Shroud of Turin Center is. So you can, if you're in Southern California, you want to go see the Shroud Center, go to Santiago Event Center. I don't know why it just came to me all of a sudden when we were off the air. It could be this person named Valerie on Facebook who just wrote, "It's on the grounds of the Santiago Event Center in Orange County."
Yes.
And I know who that person named Valerie is as well.
I do too.
Really serious question that Louise has about her son. I mean, first of all, you're 15 years old, 2 of your friends die. That's going to create a kind of trauma.
Yeah.
And now he's worried that the boys who died, I think she said boys, I don't remember now, that they're in hell.
You're right.
Okay, that's a paralyzing kind of fear.
Yeah, and we just got started before the break, and I just wanted to mention that these specific kind of cases are dealt with. The church, we have a wonderful church, Cy, and she, as a mother, comforts us with truth. You know, was it this past Sunday, I love the gospel reading from Mark chapter 6, where, you know, Jesus is receiving the apostles back after they had gone out and were doing their exploits and such, and then he was going to take them away to a quiet place together, but the multitudes follow, right? They keep following, and Jesus, and they want to be healed, right? They're following, and Jesus, I love that in Mark 6 where it says, and he looked upon them with pity, right? With mercy, with pity, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And that beautiful, Valerie and I were talking about how, you know, when you look at the Gospels and see he looked upon them with pity, find out what he does next. He heals or he teaches.
Yeah.
See, because in our pain, we need healing and we need truth, right? And this is what I love about our church, because our church is Jesus Christ extended in this world, and what you get from official teaching of the church is Jesus Christ extended in the world. So when I would encourage you to look at the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraphs 2280 through 2283 on suicide. The Catechism doesn't pull punches, and we shouldn't either when we're talking about something like suicide, because as 2280 says, everyone is responsible for his life before God. God gives life. We don't have the right to take it. I can't take your life. I can't take my life. We need to understand that. It is a profound sin to take another person's life, an innocent person's life. We see in 2281, suicide contradicts the natural inclination of the human being to preserve and perpetuate his life. So it's, in that context, gravely contrary to the just love of self, right? Paragraph 2282, if suicide is committed with the intention of setting an example, especially to the young, it takes on the gravity of scandal as well. So, you know, the church is not pulling punches here. Suicide is a grave matter. It's objectively grave matter, right? And so it should be taken seriously. And so, in a sense, this young man who had two friends commit suicide, he's gravely
one committed
concerned.
suicide. One, there was a medicine error.
Oh, right. Medicine error on the one. Thank you, Cy. And a suicide on the other. He should be concerned about the souls. Now, he goes too far, of course, when he says, I'm afraid they're in hell, because he knows, you know, they were not living right and so forth. And this is where paragraph 2283 comes in, where Holy Mother Church says we should not despair of the eternal salvation of persons who have taken their own lives. We know that by ways known to God alone, God can provide the opportunity for salvation at the last minute, or there can be, as I said before the break, mitigating circumstances to where a person is not fully, maybe venially culpable instead of morally culpable. So we always have reason to hope and the impetus to pray for them. And so that's what we need to do. In the same way, this person that it was through the medication, an error medication, that died, and you think, oh my gosh, they were not, or he or she was not, or was it a he?
I think so.
He was not living right, and you know this, the same thing applies. I think also of paragraph 1261 in the Catechism, it talks about babies that die without baptism, right? We don't have the same level of certainty of where they are as we do if they were baptized. But what does the Catechism say? we commit them into the hands of a merciful God who we know wills the salvation of all. This is what we have to encourage this young man to understand, that God wills the salvation and willed the salvation of those two young men more than you do and more than I do. Now, is it possible that they could have not gone to heaven? Absolutely, that is possible. But we know, and this is, this is the foundation of hope, is because we know the revelation of God in Jesus Christ. Jesus proves that God wills the salvation of all. And St. Paul tells us in 1 Timothy 2:4, God wills every single person to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. Every person who has ever lived and will, and now Paul didn't say that, I'm adding that, but he wills the salvation of every person who has ever lived and ever will live. And so we've got to latch on to that and pray in hope. And if we can communicate, see, it's realism. We don't want to say to someone like, oh, they're in heaven, don't worry about. No, we should be worried and we should be praying. Pray for their souls, pray for those around them, but pray in hope, because we know that our God can reach anybody. Does that make sense?
Louise?
That makes perfect sense. And that makes perfect sense. And that actually gives me comfort, because I was guiding him along the same path, and I was worried that perhaps I hadn't interpreted something properly. But I think if we just have him look over the catechism again and continue to encourage his prayer life, that should hopefully bring him comfort.
Amen. And one last thing I would say to him that in the end, if we are faithful unto death and we are saved, we are going to understand everything. We will know exactly why everything that has happened. We will see how God's grace and free will, His providential plan, everything works together for the good. We will know the other side of the veil. Right now, we pray in faith and in hope.
Louise, thank you so much. It's always good to have an opportunity. I mean, it's a tragic situation. It's good to have an opportunity to be reminded of where our hope is and who our hope is in, because it's a well-founded hope.
Amen.
There's no need to be anxious. John in Granbury, Texas. I have not heard of Granbury, Texas before, John, but we're happy to have you. Your question for Tim.
Yeah, Granbury is just outside of Fort Worth.
Oh, okay, I know where that is.
Anyway, yeah, it's not a big question, but growing up Catholic, we've always heard that Jesus hung on the cross for 3 hours, from noon to 3. And I was talking to a non-Catholic friend, and he said, well, Jesus hung on the cross for 6 hours. And I think he's getting that from Mark's Gospel, because he said Jesus was crucified and it was 9 o'clock. So do you have any thoughts? This is more of a curiosity question than anything else, but why the two interpretations, or how to explain the difference?
Right. Yeah. That is I think you stumped me. I'm gonna have to look into that, because I too was operating under the assumption, because I know that verse that it was 6 hours, but now as I say that, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, no, isn't it noon? So I'm gonna have to do a little research. I'm gonna get back to you. Do we have another break here?
We have a break coming up. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's a great question, because what's on the top of my head is it was 9 to 3, but then I'm remembering noon as well. Is that in John's Gospel?
That's what I'm. Yes.
Yeah. So all right. You've challenged me here. So during the break, I'm going to find out.
I don't even know what to do. I've never had this happen before. That Tim Staples said, I'm stumped. I'm shocked. I was like, he's got this, no problem. And then my faith is shattered. I'll tell you what.
There you go. See, who do we put our faith in? Not in Tim Staples.
Up until now, it was Tim Staples, but now it's all changing. Okay, listen, hang on a sec, and we'll get you an answer the best we can. And while Tim's doing his research, I'll just remind people we're coming up to the end of this great big giant summer sale that we're having. It'll end when this month ends. The month of July closes, the sale closes, but right now, almost everything we've got, all of our books, audio, DVDs, our tracks, our digital products, everything on sale, 10 to 25% off, in some cases more than that, including a whole bunch, literally dozens of things from Tim Staples' work over the years, including Behold Your Mother and Nuts and Bolts, and then his DVDs, Catholics in the Culture War, Defending Your Faith, CDs from all kinds of CDs and DVDs. It's all on sale. Just go to shop.catholic.com. You don't need a promo code. You just put the stuff in the basket, and when you check out, you get the savings. Shop.catholic.com right now, because it's going away soon. We'll be right back with more after this on Catholic Answers Live.
EWTN, teaching the truth.
Well, I don't think we're like the typical college students because we really hang out at our campus ministry and everything. It's amazing about how much more connected you feel. We share really cool articles from actually you guys, EWTN, and like what you were saying about evangelization. So that's really nice.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Do you want to end abortion, halt the attack on traditional marriage, and ensure religious freedom for ourselves and for our grandchildren? To do this, we must convert the culture. St. Paul Street Evangelization is a grassroots initiative that recognizes this need and takes it to the streets. If you're interested in peacefully sharing the gospel in your area, visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. It's Tuesday, and that means open forum. Open forum. We have that.
Gotcha.
I think I know what that little sigh of relief is.
Yes.
Tim's got an explanation for John in Granbury, Texas. Did you stay with us, John?
John, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I just had to do some quick little research, and I know Jimmy Akin had written something on this. I couldn't find his article, but the key is to understand that Mark's gospel is the only gospel that gives the actual time of the crucifixion as the third hour. And so the third hour, as you probably know, the hours begin at 6 a.m. because roughly from 6 to 6 it was the Jewish day. And so the third hour would have been 9 a.m. And then he's, of course, dies at 3. So it would have been 6 hours. When you have the reference to the noon time, it's an approximation. It's not when he was actually first crucified, but it was about the noon hour.
I got you.
That sort of thing. So we know that Mark is actually giving us more of a chronological time, and he says explicitly the third hour, and so that would have been 9 a.m. So that's the deal. You know, a lot of times you just have to look at the fine language of the Gospels.
Mm-hmm.
If it says something like about or in, versus it was at this time, right? And it was 9 o'clock. That
Okay.
sort of thing.
All right. Okay, John?
Yeah, that's good, except for the one thing, because I've read in some different prayers, I can't remember which one, in some Catholic prayer books, it said, and one of it was, there was one on the Divine Mercy, it said, and it talks about his 3-hour passion on the cross. So it's talked about in some different, non-magisterial, but still some Catholic presentations that actually say 3 hours. So, again, it's not a big deal.
Right.
It's more of a curiosity.
Sure. It is. But I do think when you have Mark being the only gospel writer to state the actual time of the crucifixion as the third hour or 9 a.m., you're on solid ground. Appreciate the call, though. Great question.
Thanks very much, Al. We go now to, that was John. Thank you, John. We go now to Al in Florida. Al, your question for Tim.
Hey, Tim, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, brother.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great because God is good.
All the time, brother.
Amen. So what's on your mind, brother?
Well, here we go. I have a dilemma. I am married to my beautiful wife, who was raised Church of God.
Yes.
They are incredibly anti-Catholic. And I've received dispensation, so I go to Mass early morning, and then I go to her Assembly of God service after that. And she will not even say the word Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to just live it, witness it, and show her the true church. And everything she has been raised on has failed her over the years with a brother dying and everything. And I see a lot of things. I get very uncomfortable with things in their service that I will actually walk out in the back and stay there until things are over. But I'm having trouble. I don't know how to. I can't shove it down her throat. I can't per se hit her over the head with the Bible. You coming from that Pentecostal world, how could I open her eyes to the Catholic Church?
Yeah, well, first I would say you can't, and I know you already know this, but it's something we need to be reminded of, is we can't open anybody's eyes. It is the Holy Spirit that opens hearts, opens minds, and so really what we have to do is pray. We have to really put a priority. You know, I just recently shared my conversion story here at a local parish. In fact, I was excited because it was the first talk I've given in, oh my gosh, over 2 months. And those poor people sigh. You talk about going long. I went long here at Ascension. I apologize to everyone who came at Ascension Catholic Church.
You were fired up?
I didn't want to stop because, you know, my wife was there, my son Luke was there, but it was great. But anyway, as I was sharing my story, one thing that pops in my head for you is the fact that I learned after experiencing 1 year of evangelism from my dear friend, Sergeant Matt Dula. And for those who don't know my conversion story, it's called Jimmy Swaggart Made Me Catholic. You can get it right here at Catholic.com. It's a 3-hour, actually 3 talks where I tell not just my story, but my whole family's story and how we all came to the Catholic faith. But the thing that I learned, I want you to hear me, my brother. What I learned after 1 year of battling with Sergeant Matt Dula, and I fought him every which way but loose. He had no idea he was getting through to me, because even when he was, I didn't let him know it. And I fought against him. I had such pride. I didn't want to be Catholic. But what I found out, my brother, is after I left and I went on to become a youth minister, I went to Jimmy Swaggart Bible College, but I could never shake that Catholic stuff that he had, you know, crammed into my noggin, right? But when I finally came around and I converted and I called Matt on the phone and told him, and he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it at first that I was actually converting. He literally didn't believe it. He thought I was pulling his leg. I had to convince him, yes, I really am becoming Catholic. He actually told me his first thought was, when I told him this, he said, he's going to try to infiltrate the church. You know, because I was so rabidly anti-Catholic. He really believed that. Yeah. And I had to convince him. So I'm just telling you, my brother, that was me. And Matt said the same thing you're saying about me. When I left the Marine Corps after a year of fighting with him, he gave up on me. He said, man, that guy's a goner. Right? But I found out every day since the day he met me and we started arguing about the faith, he prayed for me. Daily Mass, daily rosary, every day for that entire year. And my brother, that was more important than all the apologetics arguments he gave me, all the books he stacked up. I believe prayer is the most powerful thing. And why? Because it is, as it is in Luke chapter 24 with Cleopas and the unnamed disciple on the road to Emmaus. Jesus Christ was standing next to them, and he opened the scriptures and taught. Can you imagine this, Si? He taught them all things concerning himself.
I cannot imagine.
In the law and the prophets.
Yeah.
You had Jesus, and they couldn't see it until the breaking of the bread. There was a Eucharistic reference there. But what is that saying to us? This is supernatural stuff we're talking about here. It's not a matter of just getting the best arguments and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. We need to learn how to use rhetoric, how to argue. Certainly, those things are important, but we do have to understand. In my humble opinion, my friend, and maybe this is from 24 years of being a professional apologist and seeing how many times I have messed up, arguing with people, and I get mad and I say things I wish I wouldn't have said, and the person converts. And then I do the perfect apologetic, and he doesn't. It's like God says to you over and over again, keep trying, do your best. I expect you to do your best, but remember, it is me. It is God who opens eyes. That would be what my suggestion to you, my friend. Prayer.
God bless you, Al. Thank you very much for that call. We're coming up near the end, so I'm going to keep moving. I hope that was helpful to you. Cody in Albuquerque, New Mexico, watching on YouTube. You are up next today. Cody, your question for Tim.
Thank you, Tim. That was beautiful. Do you still talk to Sergeant Matt?
I sure do. Yeah, we regularly via email or Facebook. I don't get to see him too often, but if I'm ever out in the area of St. Charles, outside of Chicago, I'll be on his back porch smoking cigars and sipping scotch. But what's on your mind?
I've always wondered that. That's why I asked. So, to put it simple, is it okay in the eyes of the church not to marry and not to be a religious?
Yes, Cody, sure. That's a great question. And I know there are a lot of people who make good arguments as to the importance of vows and promises, and we need to be living a vowed life, or at least a life where we have made promises, the commitment, the vow of marriage or religious life. I get that, but no, there are other options, and thanks be to God. So if you're a widow, right, you're not out of God's will. In fact, that's a special place, according to St. Paul in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 9 through 11. He talks about consecrated widows. But so I think that's the key. The single life can be a calling, and for various reasons, right? But if we are in that situation, our consecration is to Jesus Christ and the sacraments, right? And that's the most important thing. And I think that's something that is relatively new, because there was, I would say, Si, now you've been a Catholic for 400 years, so maybe you know better than I do about this. There was a greater sense of this, in the pre-conciliar church, the idea you got to be either religious or priest or married. Yeah. There's really not a third or a fourth, I should say, option. But more in the church today, we recognize that people can, in fact, be single, and for many, many different reasons, and be squarely in the will of God. I think we just need, here's my suggestion, Cody, is that we encourage everyone to be committed to Jesus Christ. There's where your commitment lies, right? It's in your baptism, your baptismal vows that you make. That is a life of commitment right there, and your commitment to the Eucharist and to the sacraments in accordance with your calling in life.
Okay, Cody?
Yeah, the reason I ask that is because I have a bunch of issues. So, first of all, I am totally blind, which does not prevent me from having children, but I have various hands-on issues that prevent me from being able to safely or psychologically take care of one. And because of the blindness, I don't have any other income other than playing music in bars. I mean, that's literally what I do for a living.
Right.
And I can't really support a wife and family. I mean, I'm broke half the time.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be a problem if I'm called to marriage. So
Sure.
I've kind of almost settled on. But I'm also, but I'm very involved in my parish.
Yeah,
I mean, I lead
praise
music
God.
for the youth group. I'm in the choir on Sundays. I'm at meetings there twice a week. So I devote my time to that, and I'm just wondering, is it okay in the eyes of the church to just do that?
Absolutely. Cody, and that's why I said, and for many different reasons, folks can be single and right in the center of God's will, and you are, my brother. If I'm ever in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where can I see you play?
I'm at the Ponderosa Brewery. Are you a country
Ponderosa
music
Brewery.
fan?
I love country music. Yes, I like all kinds of music, but yes, I love country music. I'm a kind of Alan Jackson, Joe Diffie, Clint Black, Garth Brooks kind of country folk.
Randy Travis.
Yes, we'll throw him in too. God bless you, Cody. Thanks for calling. And that was the Ponderosa
Brewery.
Brewery.
Yeah.
I might surprise you sometime when I'm in Albuquerque. Did you hear that, Valerie? Because I know my wife is listening right now. Write down Ponderosa Brewery in New Mexico.
Cody, thanks very, very much for the call. We appreciate it. Tim, let's see. We're going to have to go really quick. Want to do one really, really quick?
Let's do it.
Okay. We're going to go to Tim in Denver, listening on the Catholic Answers app. Tim, you got to make it really fast.
Okay.
It's going to be a fast one.
All right, fast one. Go.
Yeah, I'll go as fast as I can. So, Tim, I just finished reading your book, Behold Your Mother, and it was fantastic.
Appreciate that.
The question that I have of course. The question that I have for you is, a lot of the deductions you made were based on reasoning. So, like when you talked about Mary having the title Mother of God, it was, based on reasoning.
We're running out of time, Tim. You got to make it a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. So, how do we explain that reasoning is a good way to come up with theological?
Oh, is it okay to reason about this stuff?
Amen.
Right.
We have a conference coming up where we're going to talk about that, faith and reason. But Tim, I love Romans chapter 12. We beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies living sacrifices unto God, which is your reasonable worship. The Greek word there is logike, reasonable. Everything that we do as Christians is reasonable. There's nothing irrational. You need to come to that conference, Faith and Reason, because we're going to talk about that for the whole conference.
September 27th, right here in San Diego at the Hyatt Regency. Tim, again, so glad to see you well.
God bless you,
Thanks
brother.
for coming for this.
It's great to be here.
Always good to have you. Tomorrow, join us for 2 more hours of Catholic Answers Live. We'll be here, God willing. Hope you will be too. We'll see you then.